GTA 6 will be released next year, so till then here are some awesome GTA-like games you can try. Watch Dogs. Now, I know what you're thinking. Watch Dogs? Isn't that just a GTA clone? Well, yes and no. While they're both open-world games that let you cause chaos in a big city, Watch Dogs has its own unique spin on things. For starters, the whole hacking aspect really sets it apart. You play as Aiden Pierce, a skilled hacker who can control just about anything that's connected to the city's central operating system. From stopping trains on a dime to causing massive blackouts, the hacking mechanics add a fresh layer of gameplay that you don't really get in GTA. But don't worry, you can still go on good old-fashioned rampages if that's your thing. 'Cause some mayhem, steal cars, get into shootouts with the cops. It's all there. The driving and combat feel pretty solid too, even if they're not quite up to Rockstar's standards. Where Watch Dogs really shines though is in its world and story. Chicago has been recreated in impressive detail, and there's a surprising amount of depth to Aiden's personal vendetta against the city's corrupt elite. It's a nice change of pace from just mindlessly causing havoc. Now, is Watch Dogs going to completely satisfy your craving for the next GTA? Probably not. But it's a pretty damn good open-world game that scratches a similar itch while bringing its own unique strengths to the table. Definitely worth checking out while you're waiting for GTA 6 to finally drop. So there you have it. If the idea of playing a morally ambiguous hacker taking down a massive corporate conspiracy sounds appealing, give Watch Dogs a shot. Just don't expect it to be an exact GTA clone, and you might be pleasantly surprised. If you're a big GTA fan desperately waiting for GTA 6 to finally release, I've got another game series you might want to check out, the Mafia games. While the Mafia trilogy may not have the sheer insanity and over-the-top action of a GTA game, it more than makes up for it with its gritty, authentic portrayal of organized crime. These games are all about getting you immersed in that classic mobster narrative and lifestyle. Let's start with the original Mafia game from 2002. This was like playing an interactive movie straight out of classic gangster films like The Untouchables or The Godfather. Great story, incredible attention to detail when it comes to that 1930s setting and mobster culture. It really transported you to that era of crime families and Prohibition-era rackets. Then you had Mafia 2 in 2010, which took you through the life of a made man in the Italian mob from the 1940s through the 60s. The writing and characters here were top-notch, with a much more personal, emotional story compared to most open-world crime games. The gameplay itself was pretty solid too, with just the right mix of shootouts, rackets to run, and criminal enterprises to operate. And finally, we got the Mafia Trilogy remake in 2020, which revitalized those first two games with modern visuals, while keeping everything that made their stories and worlds so engrossing intact. Plus, it included the latest entry, Mafia 3, which brought the action to the gritty, organized crime world of 1960s New Orleans. Definitely a fresh setting compared to the usual New York or Chicago mob backdrops. So, if you're in the mood for some more grounded, atmospheric crime dramas with fantastic storytelling while you wait for your next GTA fix, I really can't recommend the Mafia series enough. It captures the allure and harsh realities of mob life in a way most games haven't quite pulled off. Just don't go expecting the same level of over-the-top chaos as GTA, and you'll likely fall in love with these games' rich worlds and narratives. One game you should definitely check out is Sleeping Dogs. Now, this open-world action game may have flown under a lot of people's radars when it first released back in 2012, but it's an absolute gem that scratches a very similar itch to Grand Theft Auto. On the surface, Sleeping Dogs seems like your standard criminal underworld sandbox. You play as Wei Shen, an undercover cop who gets trapped in Hong Kong's brutal triad crime organizations. The setup lets you dive headfirst into all the usual open-world mayhem, carjacking, shootouts, unsanctioned street races, you name it. But what really makes Sleeping Dogs stand out is just how immersive and atmospheric its recreation of Hong Kong is. This isn't just a generic big city backdrop. The vibrant, neon-drenched streets, the bustling markets and side alleys, the mix of modern and traditional architecture, it all comes together to make you feel like you're in the living, breathing underbelly of one of the world's most fascinating cities. And the gameplay does a fantastic job of tapping into that Hong Kong underworld fantasy too. The hand-to-hand combat is especially great. blending intense brutal martial arts battles with quirky environmental takedowns, using everything from potted plants to concession stand items. Scaling buildings and running across rooftops feels straight out of a classic Hong Kong action flick. The driving and gunplay are solid, if not quite up to Rockstar's standards. But what Sleeping Dogs lacks in pure gameplay polish, it makes up for with an impressive amount of variety in missions and activities to immerse yourself in the criminal life. One minute you're taking down drug dens, the next, you're racing super-tuned bikes or managing a nightclub's staff and security. On top of the excellent open-world setup, Sleeping Dogs also brings a surprisingly gripping story and cast of characters to the table. As Wei Shen gets deeper and deeper embedded within the triads, you really start to feel his internal struggle between his loyalties as a cop and his ties to this criminal underworld he's built within. It gives the plot an added layer of drama and emotional stakes that most open-world crime games don't really explore. Now, Sleeping Dogs isn't quite the masterpiece that Rockstar's best GTA entries are. There are some noticeable technical issues and rough edges that keep it from reaching those heights. But if you can look past that, you're getting an incredibly rich and atmospheric experience that GTA fans should absolutely lap up. Between its stellar Hong Kong recreation, extremely fun and diverse gameplay loop, and morally gray narrative, Sleeping Dogs captures the intoxicating allure of being a criminal kingpin in a way most open-world games don't. It's a severely underrated gem, and one of the better GTA likes out there for holding you over until GTA 6. Just don't sleep on it. If you want to play some Rockstar-made game, I got LA Noire for you. So this game takes you back to the mean streets of 1940s Los Angeles, right? And let me tell you, Rockstar didn't just half-ass recreating that old-school Hollywood vibe. We're talking vintage cars, snazzy outfits, and architecture that'll make you feel like you stepped right into a classic noir film. It's like a time machine, but for your TV screen. Now, instead of playing some criminal running wild, you actually get to be a detective this time around. That's right, you're Cole Phelps, an LAPD cop climbing the ranks by working cases that play out like episodes of an old pulpy crime show. Murdered dames, missing persons, drug busts. You name it, Phelps is on the case. But here's where LA Noire really shines. The investigation and interrogation gameplay is unlike anything Rockstar has done before. You're not just mindlessly blasting fools, you gotta use them detective skills, dig around crime scenes for clues, and then grill witnesses and suspects using some crazy facial capture tech to sniff out them lying jerks. It's like one big deductive logic puzzle mixed with some intense back-and-forth questioning. Seeing some shady mook's eye twitch or throat gulp when you call out their BS feels so damn satisfying, let me tell you. That said, Rockstar didn't completely forget their open-world roots either. When you're off the clock, you can still hop in a hot rod and tear up the streets, get into shootouts with punks, or just cruise around seeing the seedy underside of 1940s LA. It's got that classic GTA mayhem, just not as over-the-top insane. Look, is LA Noire groundbreaking in 2023? Maybe not so much. But the attention to detail in bringing that era to life, plus the unique detective gameplay made it a real standout back in the day. If you're all burnt out on doing nothing but senseless rampages, this'll switch up the formula in a dope way, while still giving you a taste of that Rockstar open-world flavor. So for any of you GTA fans jonesing for something fresh to kill time until GTA 6, hit up LA Noire and see what all the dig was about. It's a slick, atmospheric crime trip, even if the graphics are showing some age. Let me put you on to an underrated gem. Scarface, The World Is Yours. A game based on that classic 80s crime flick. But hear me out. This one is a seriously slept-on banger, especially if you're dying to raise some hell in a virtual recreation of Miami. The setup is simple. You're Tony Montana himself, fresh off the events of the movie and ready to rebuild your criminal empire from the ground up in Vice City. And let me tell you, they nailed that vibrant, neon-drenched Miami atmosphere from the get-go. Cruising around in sweet retro whips, blasting trunk-rattling 80s beats, getting into intense shootouts, and building up your drug-running rackets. It perfectly captures that excessive, indulgent, high-rolling gangster fantasy. It's like you're living out your own gritty crime saga. But where The World Is Yours really shines is just how batshit insane the gameplay lets you get. Yeah, you can do all the usual open-world mayhem, like jacking rides and causing chaos. But you also get to flex some of Tony's most iconic movie moments in gameplay form. The open world itself is pretty impressive too, especially for its time back in 2006. Vice City is jam-packed with different districts to conquer, from the glitzy beachfront hotels to the slums where you build up your operations. It's got that same addictive cycle of taking over territory and running rackets that makes games like GTA so easy to sink hours into. Now, I won't lie. The World Is Yours definitely shows its age in some areas. The driving and shooting mechanics are a bit janky by today's standards, and the missions can get pretty repetitive after a while, as you're constantly taking over the same businesses and bases. But if you can look past those small gripes, you're getting one hell of an entertaining power fantasy fueled by excessive violence, hilariously foul-mouthed gangsters, and that iconic Scarface attitude. It's the perfect warm-up for wreaking havoc in GTA 6's Vice City, while paying homage to one of the all-time great crime films. And we are done. Trust me, try at least one game from the series. You won't regret it. Now subscribe to the channel if you are really into gaming and GTA. I'll see you again soon.